We are getting exclusive audio from 2024 of Trump, then as a candidate, discussing details of a private conversation that he once had with President Putin. The audio obtained by the authors of a new book that is just out today. And for context, the president has long said that Putin would never have invaded Ukraine on his watch because of something he told him once privately. Trump had never revealed what that was.
Trump's negotiation skills have been called into question lately. As of me recording this today, Trump's 90 deals in 90 days has officially not happened. He has yet to negotiate peace in the Middle East or bring an end to the war in Ukraine. He has not been able to negotiate the exchange of American captives in Venezuela for the Venezuelans that the U.S. government sent to prisons in El Salvador. Now, new audio from a 2024 campaign fundraiser has Trump bragging to attendees that he knows how to put people like Vladimir Putin in their place. Trump had long claimed that had he been president during the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that invasion simply would never have happened. According to Trump, that invasion could and would only have ever happened during the Biden presidency. Of course, there is no way to verify a claim like that one. Anyone can claim something that can never actually be proven or disproven.
I had a very strong conversation with President Putin, and he understood, and I won't go into the great details of the conversation because nobody has to know that. But I will tell you, it never, ever would have happened.
I don't want to say it, but did they fear me? I suspect they did.
But in the past, he has said publicly, without giving any details as to what the conversation really entailed, that he spoke to Putin about invading Ukraine while he was the president during his first term, and whatever he said to Putin was enough to dissuade him from going through with any major military action. In the newly released audio, Trump tells his guests exactly what he told Putin and also President Xi Jinping.
To Putin, I said, if you go in to Ukraine, we're going to bomb this in Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public wants it. The public. So he goes like, I don't believe you. He said, no way. And I said, way. And then he goes like, I don't believe you, but the truth is he believed me 10%. And I told you this, he believed me 10%. Then I'm with President Xi of China, but I said the same thing to them. I said, you know, if you go into Taiwan, I'm going to bomb this at Beijing. He thought I was crazy. He said, Beijing? You're going to bomb Beijing? I said, I have no choice. I got to bomb them. We're going to bomb Beijing. And he didn't believe either, except 10%. And 10% is all you need. In fact, 5% would have been okay too. And we never had a problem. We would have never had a problem.
So again, that was audio from 2024 from the then presidential candidate Donald Trump. Trump at the time was fighting to get back into the White House, and a big part of his strategy to do so was to convince people that one, certain international conflicts would never have escalated if he had won his second term, and two, that if he defeats Biden, the conflicts that escalated during the Biden administration would be swiftly ended. Trump's confidence in these matters stemmed from his belief that he had strong, solid relationships with these international authoritarian leaders. He believed that people like Putin and Xi Jinping, leaders of adversarial governments who have been notoriously uncooperative with American presidents, saw Trump as their equal, and they would be more willing to work with him than with any other president or presidential candidate. With these recordings, we now see that Trump tried to play the crazed, unpredictable leader angle. He made wild threats against Russia and China, threats that realistically he never would have been able to follow through with. And of course, Putin and Xi Jinping know that there's no way Trump would have been able to realistically bomb Moscow or Beijing. They also know that Trump was campaigning to be a no new wars president. Bombing Moscow or Beijing wouldn't exactly be in alignment with that particular campaign promise. But Trump says that both of the men believed him 5 or 10%, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but according to Trump, it's just enough to prevent those two leaders from doing the things that they really want to do. The unpredictability that Trump presented, he suggested, was his master negotiating / peacemaking strategy. But jump ahead to where we are today. Putin continues to invade Ukraine. Not only that, but Putin has escalated his attacks against the nation. Trump has failed to make several deals that he bragged to his base he would have been able to get done in his sleep, or in just one day, or in just 90 days. He puts arbitrary deadlines on his own promises and just assumes that his base will forget about those deadlines once they come about, or that his base will just make excuses for him when those deadlines are not met. What has been long evident to everyone but Trump and his supporters is that people like Putin and Xi Jinping are not scared of Trump. They hardly seem to respect him as a man or as a president. They use him if they need to, but ultimately they do what they want. Trump seems to be operating under the assumption that these two particular nations aren't, on their own, incredibly powerful and internationally influential. The United States is no longer the megalithic, undeniable, unopposable world leader that it once was. Just this week, Trump was threatening higher tariffs against nations who commit the un-American act of aligning themselves with BRICS nations. Making threats like that is not a show of force. It reeks of fear. And I don't mean that Trump is weaponizing fear. I mean that he comes across as fearful and desperate. If he had something better to offer these smaller nations than Russia or China, then he wouldn't have to threaten them away from BRICS influence. The audio that was released was obtained by Josh Dawsey, Tyler Pager, and Isaac Arnsdorf, authors of the new book, 2024, How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America. These revelations are especially timely considering Trump's current and evident frustration that Putin, for some reason, doesn't seem to be listening to Trump. Putin, to Trump's and no one else's surprise, is apparently very difficult to control. Here is author Isaac Arnsdorf commenting on Trump's frustration with the Putin situation on CNN.
What you see in that tape is Trump behind closed doors to his richest donors in New York, telling them, I had control over these guys, basically espousing the madman theory, right? They thought I was just crazy enough that maybe I would have done something if they crossed me. And I used that to basically get them to do what I wanted them to do. And I think what the frustration you're seeing now from President Trump, we've reported he says Vladimir Putin has changed. He makes all of these comments in private about how he used to think he had a better relationship with Vladimir Putin. And I think Putin's just not listening to him. Putin's not listening to what Trump wants him to do.
And here is Trump recently commenting on how sad he is that his best friend Putin hasn't been a better friend to him.
And I don't know, we get a lot of bull thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless. Any questions? Yes.
Yes, sir. You just said you're not happy with Vladimir Putin. Is there anything that you plan to do to act on that feeling of unhappiness?
Well, I wouldn't be telling you. Don't we want to have a little surprise? One of the things we did with the attack is that, you asked that question, I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm in a rude because I'm looking at some of these crooked people up here, so I'm rude, but your question was asked very nicely.
Trump's surprise that Putin can be nice to his face while not actually being a nice person is juvenile. Any idiot can be polite and nice in public. Trump is dealing with world leaders here, and these are people who know how to get what they want, and they're willing to do what it takes to get what they want. Why isn't Trump, this master negotiator, better at reading people? And look, I will give Trump credit for even saying to either Putin or Xi Jinping that he was going to bomb their capital cities, assuming that he did actually make those threats, because that is a ballsy move, even if the threats themselves didn't land. But it's still hard to determine how effective those threats were or would have been, considering there are several other reasons why either of those leaders would have hesitated to act one way or the other. For instance, Biden did say while he was president that if China attempted to invade Taiwan, that the US military would be getting involved. I suppose Trump is suggesting that threatening to directly bomb the Chinese capital is a more acute and effective threat than just blanket military action. Either way, China has not conducted military action in Taiwan as of yet, but there are also economic and political reasons as to why China may be currently abstaining. So now we wait and see how effective Trump will actually be at diplomacy and negotiation. So far, things have not been going well for him. He can hardly manage his own cabinet. He is undermining both his defense secretary and his secretary of state. He is struggling to make deals that he promised he would be able to make, the deals that would fix many of the ails of this country. He's upset his most loyal base not once, but twice in just the past week. Once by promising amnesty for illegal immigrant farm workers, and twice by claiming that there is no Epstein client list. So much so that his base seems likely to finally break. That's what they're saying. His approval rating is in the toilet. No one likes his big, beautiful bill. His own base finally seems to understand what is in that bill and how it will negatively impact their own lives. And Trump is fighting with the courts for the right to lay off even more workers than his administration already has. Overall, things are not going well for Trump, and I can't say that I feel sorry for him. I do feel sorry for the rest of us, though, all right? That's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.